Have you ever noticed how a subtle glance, a whispered comment, or even a slight change in someone's tone can make you question your own worth? Maybe it's a colleague who seems overly critical, or a friend who grows distant when you share your successes. Their envy isn't about you, yet it can feel like a shadow cast over your achievements, dimming the light you naturally carry. How do you reclaim your value when others' jealousy attempts to redefine it? This is the invisible struggle many face, the quiet battle of protecting one's self-worth in a world where envy often hides behind smiles. Carl Jung, the profound psychologist who explored the depths of the human psyche, offers us a lens to understand this experience. He teaches that envy is not a reflection of your shortcomings but a mirror revealing someone else's inner insecurities. Their envy isn't about you, it arises from their own fears, doubts, and unmet needs. This insight is powerful because it shifts the narrative from self-blame to empathy and awareness. You don't have to absorb the negativity or let it shape your sense of self. Imagine this: you've just shared an exciting milestone at work, a project you led, a goal you achieved. Later, you notice a colleague's subtle undermining remarks. Perhaps they downplay your effort or hint that your success was a stroke of luck. It stings. You wonder, did I really earn this? Am I just fooling myself? Their envy feels like a whispered accusation, sowing seeds of doubt. But Jung's idea of the shadow self helps us understand this dynamic. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves that we reject or fail to acknowledge, our hidden fears, desires, and vulnerabilities. When others project their shadow onto us through envy, they are essentially wrestling with their own shadow aspects, not attacking our true worth. This realization invites a critical shift: their envy isn't about you. It's a reflection of their internal struggle, a call for them to face and integrate their shadow. For you, this means recognizing the difference between external judgments and your inherent value. Your self-worth is not a fragile thing, easily shattered by someone else's jealousy. It is a deep, intrinsic quality that exists independent of external validation. But what does this self-worth feel like in practice? It's not about boasting or proving yourself to others. It's about a quiet, unwavering understanding of your value. It's the silent confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard. It's the calm center you return to when the noise of comparison and envy threatens to overwhelm you. In this video, we'll explore how Carl Jung's teachings guide us in reclaiming that self-worth amidst envy. We will walk through real-life stories that illuminate these principles, offering 5 empowering strategies to protect and nurture your inner value. These aren't just abstract ideas, they are practical tools to help you navigate the complex emotional landscape where envy often lurks. Let's begin with a brief scenario, something many of us have faced. Picture yourself in a team meeting. You present an innovative idea, one you've poured hours of thought into. Afterward, a colleague makes a comment, seemingly casual but laced with subtle skepticism. You sense the undercurrent, envy. It's not overt, but it's there, like a shadow stretching across the room. That moment lingers, and you feel a knot of doubt tightening in your chest. This experience is more than social discomfort, it's a psychological interaction involving shadow projection. Your colleague's envy is an unconscious expression of their own unmet desires and insecurities. Jung calls this the shadow self, the parts we don't want to face but that influence our behavior nonetheless. When their shadow meets your light, envy can emerge as an attempt to pull you back into their own unresolved pain. Recognizing this helps dissolve the personal sting. Their envy isn't about you. It's about their struggle with themselves. This awareness is the first step in protecting your self-worth. Now, you may ask, if their envy is about them, why do I still feel hurt? Why does it affect me so deeply? This is where the journey toward conscious self-acceptance begins. It's natural to feel wounded by others' judgments, we are social beings wired for connection and approval. But when you understand that envy stems from others' shadows, you start to separate your self-image from their projections. This separation is crucial. It means you no longer absorb their envy as a personal failure. Instead, you see it as an invitation to strengthen your own inner foundation. You protect your value not by matching their negativity but by deepening your self-awareness and affirming your worth from within. Consider how this might change your response the next time you face envy. Instead of shrinking or reacting defensively, you could acknowledge the emotion without letting it define you. You might silently remind yourself that their envy is a reflection of their shadow, not a verdict on your worth. This silent confidence is a powerful form of resilience. Throughout this exploration, keep in mind that you are not alone. Envy is a universal human experience, and everyone encounters it at some point. What matters is how you respond. Your response can either allow envy to erode your confidence or serve as a catalyst for deeper self-understanding and growth. Embracing your self-worth is a transformative journey. It's about learning to stand firm amid the swirling emotions of envy and comparison. It's about cultivating a sense of value that is independent of others' opinions or jealousy. This journey aligns beautifully with Jung's broader teaching of individuation, the process of becoming your most authentic, integrated self. So, as we move forward, ask yourself, how often have you let others' envy dim your light? How might your life change if you reclaimed your value, firmly rooted in your own awareness and integrity? Their envy isn't about you. You protect your value by recognizing this truth and choosing to nurture your self-worth from within. In the next sections, we will unfold real stories and practical steps that embody these ideas. We will see how conscious self-acceptance, silent confidence, integrity, and ultimately transformation can empower you to rise above envy and embrace your true power. For now, hold this thought close: your self-worth is a treasure not diminished by others' envy. It is a beacon that guides you through the shadows cast by their insecurities. And as you learn to protect and cherish this inner light, you become not only stronger for yourself but an inspiring example for others navigating the same path. Remember, their envy isn't about you. It's about their own shadow. And you have the power to protect your value. Let's take a deeper dive into what Carl Jung calls the shadow, the hidden, often uncomfortable parts of ourselves that we tend to push away or deny. The shadow holds our fears, our unmet needs, and the aspects of ourselves we don't want to face or acknowledge. It's a complex territory, but understanding it is key to mastering how we relate to envy, both in ourselves and in others. When someone envies you, they're not just reacting to your success or qualities on the surface. They're responding to something deeper, an unconscious projection of their own shadow. Envy often masks feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, or longing for something they believe they lack. In other words, their jealousy reveals their own unacknowledged desires and pain. Let me share a story about Mark and his friend Tom to illustrate this. Mark recently got promoted at work. It was a well-deserved step up, the result of years of dedication and hard work. But Tom, who had been struggling in his own career path, started acting distant and occasionally made snide remarks about Mark's promotion. At first, Mark felt confused and hurt. Why was Tom acting this way? Weren't they friends? What Mark didn't realize at the time was that Tom's envy was a manifestation of his own feelings of inadequacy. Tom's shadow was whispering to him, stirring up fears that he wasn't good enough or that he was falling behind. Instead of confronting these feelings, Tom projected them outward as jealousy toward Mark. This projection created a barrier between them, one built not on Mark's actions but on Tom's inner struggle. Jung's teaching here is profound: envy is a shadow projection. It's a psychological defense mechanism where people attribute their unwanted feelings to someone else. Recognizing this helps us avoid taking jealousy personally. When you see envy as a reflection of someone's inner conflict rather than a judgment on you, it opens the door to compassion, for them and for yourself. This understanding also reminds us that everyone carries a shadow. It's a universal part of the human experience. We all have insecurities, fears, and desires that we may not fully admit, even to ourselves. Sometimes these parts emerge as envy toward others who seem to have what we want or what we think we lack. Why does this matter? Because when you grasp the shadow nature of envy, you can respond differently. Instead of feeling attacked or diminished, you begin to see the situation with clarity. You recognize that the envious person is struggling with their own inner demons. This perspective doesn't excuse hurtful behavior, but it softens its impact on your sense of self. Imagine if Mark had understood Tom's shadow projection. He might have felt less personal hurt and more empathy for his friend. This doesn't mean accepting negativity or ignoring boundaries, but it means holding on to your self-worth without letting another's envy erode it. This is where compassion becomes a powerful tool. Compassion toward others' shadows doesn't weaken you, it strengthens your emotional resilience. It allows you to maintain your integrity and confidence in the face of envy, knowing that their jealousy reflects their own shadow, not your true value. Understanding the shadow also helps us become more aware of our own potential for envy. It invites us to look inward and ask, what parts of myself am I hiding or denying? What insecurities might be fueling my reactions to other success? This self-reflection is not about judgment but about conscious awareness, an essential step toward individuation, the process Jung described as becoming whole by integrating all parts of ourselves. When we acknowledge our shadow, we reduce its power to control us unconsciously. Instead of projecting envy onto others, we learn to face our feelings honestly. This transforms envy from a destructive force into an opportunity for personal growth and self-discovery. Returning to Tom's story, imagine if he had confronted his feelings of inadequacy instead of projecting them. He might have used Mark's success as inspiration rather than a threat. This shift requires courage but leads to a healthier relationship with oneself and others. Jung's concept of the shadow encourages us to see beyond surface emotions and behaviors. It challenges us to explore the unseen dynamics beneath envy and jealousy. By doing so, we develop a deeper understanding of human psychology and strengthen our ability to navigate complex emotional landscapes. So, when you encounter envy, whether directed at you or stirring within yourself, remember it's often a shadow at work. It's a signal pointing to hidden needs and fears that deserve attention and compassion. Seeing envy through this lens helps you detach from its sting and respond with greater awareness and kindness. This awareness also cultivates self-acceptance. When you recognize that envy is a shadow projection, you free yourself from the burden of internalizing others' jealousy. Your self-worth becomes anchored not in external approval but in inner clarity and understanding. How might this change your everyday interactions? Instead of reacting defensively to envy, you might pause and reflect, what is this person's envy really about? What part of me might I be projecting onto others? This pause creates space for conscious choice rather than automatic reaction. In this way, Jung's shadow theory offers a roadmap for emotional maturity and resilience. It invites you to embrace complexity, the light and dark within yourself and others. And it reminds you that your value is not diminished by someone else's shadow. By understanding envy as a projection of the shadow, you empower yourself to rise above petty comparisons and jealousy. You protect your self-worth by seeing these emotions as invitations for greater self-awareness rather than personal attacks. This insight is a stepping stone toward cultivating conscious self-acceptance and silent confidence, concepts we'll explore in the next section. For now, hold on to this thought: envy is often a mask for someone else's hidden struggles. Recognizing this truth allows you to respond with compassion, maintain your integrity, and guard your sense of worth. As you reflect on this, consider your own experiences with envy. Have you noticed moments when jealousy felt less like an attack and more like a cry from someone wrestling with their shadow? How might seeing envy this way soften your response and deepen your empathy? Remember, their envy isn't about you. It's about their shadow. And by understanding this, you take a crucial step toward protecting your value and nurturing your self-worth from a place of wisdom and compassion. Now that we've explored the shadow behind envy and how it reveals hidden struggles in others, let's turn inward and focus on cultivating your own inner self-worth through conscious awareness. This is a vital step, building a resilient foundation that can withstand the corrosive effects of envy without crumbling under its weight. Conscious awareness is about observing your feelings and thoughts without judgment. It's a practice of stepping back and noticing what's happening inside you when envy or criticism arises, rather than being swept away by automatic reactions. This mindful stance empowers you to respond instead of react, preserving your self-worth in the face of external challenges. Take Nina's story as an example. Nina was no stranger to criticism, sometimes subtle, sometimes overt, from people who seemed envious of her achievements. Early on, these comments would shake her confidence, leaving her doubting her abilities and worth. But over time, she learned to pause and observe her emotional responses instead of letting them dictate her sense of self. When faced with an envious remark, she acknowledged the sting but reminded herself that this was a reflection of the other person's shadow, not her own truth. This practice of conscious observation aligns closely with Jung's concept of individuation, the journey toward becoming a whole and integrated self. Individuation involves bringing unconscious parts of ourselves into the light of consciousness, accepting them without resistance, and weaving them into a coherent sense of identity. When you apply this to your experience with envy and criticism, you begin to disentangle your self-worth from external opinions and projections. How does this look in daily life? It might start with simple mindfulness exercises, pausing to breathe deeply when you feel an envious jab or a wave of self-doubt. It involves naming your emotions: I feel hurt, I notice jealousy rising, or this comment triggers insecurity. By labeling these feelings, you create distance between your core self and the passing emotional storm. Affirmations also play a powerful role here. They are not about denial or empty positivity but about reinforcing your intrinsic value. Statements like, my worth is not defined by others' opinions, or, I am enough just as I am, help rewire your inner dialogue toward acceptance and strength. Over time, these affirmations become anchors, steadying you when envy tries to unsettle your confidence. Nina's journey teaches us that conscious awareness doesn't eliminate the presence of envy or criticism, it shifts your relationship to it. Instead of being blindsided, you meet these challenges with a grounded presence. You begin to see them as external waves rather than internal truths. This shift is liberating. It means you don't have to prove your worth to anyone else. You don't need to respond with defensiveness or self-judgment. Your value is anchored in your own awareness and acceptance. Jung's process of individuation reminds us that true self-worth emerges from integrating all parts of ourselves, the light and the shadow, the strengths and vulnerabilities, into a unified whole. When you cultivate conscious self-acceptance, you invite wholeness. You stop fragmenting your identity in reaction to envy or criticism and instead hold yourself with compassion and clarity. Practically speaking, this might look like setting aside moments each day for self-reflection or meditation. It could involve journaling your feelings, exploring what envy triggers inside you, and gently inquiring why. What stories do you tell yourself about your worth? Are these stories rooted in your authentic self, or are they echoes of past judgments and external pressures? This internal work is the foundation for building resilience. It creates a sanctuary within where envy's corrosive effects cannot reach. Your self-worth becomes a stable ground, not easily shaken by the shifting tides of others' opinions or jealousies. As you practice conscious awareness, you also develop empathy, for yourself and for others. You recognize that envy, whether experienced from outside or inside, is a signal of deeper unmet needs. This understanding softens harsh self-criticism and fosters a more compassionate inner dialogue. Imagine encountering envy not as a threat but as an opportunity, to learn more about yourself, to strengthen your inner boundaries, and to deepen your self-acceptance. This perspective transforms envy from a painful obstacle into a catalyst for growth. Nina's story is a testament to the power of this approach. By observing her feelings and affirming her worth, she reclaimed her confidence and no longer allowed envy to dictate her self-image. She grew into a more integrated self, embodying the very essence of Jung's individuation. So, how can you begin cultivating conscious awareness today? Start small. When you notice envy, either in yourself or in others' reactions, pause. Take a breath. Name the emotion without judgment. Remind yourself that this moment doesn't define your value. Try incorporating daily affirmations that resonate with your journey toward self-acceptance. Engage in reflective practices that invite you to explore your inner landscape with curiosity and kindness. Remember, this is not a quick fix but a gradual unfolding. Each moment of awareness builds upon the last, creating a resilient inner foundation. Your self-worth becomes less dependent on external validation and more rooted in your authentic being. As you deepen this practice, you'll find that envy loses its power to unsettle you. You develop a silent confidence, a calm, steady presence that doesn't need to prove itself but simply is. This conscious self-acceptance is a gift you give yourself, one that ripples outward into your relationships and interactions. It allows you to engage with the world from a place of wholeness, rather than fragmentation. And as you continue on this path, you'll see how it prepares you for the next vital step, building silent confidence and authentic integrity. These qualities are the outward expressions of the inner work you're cultivating now. For now, embrace this moment of conscious awareness. Notice your feelings, honor your worth, and gently step into the fullness of your being. Your journey toward self-acceptance is a powerful act of empowerment, shielding you from envy's corrosive touch and guiding you toward true inner freedom. Building on the foundation of conscious self-acceptance, let's explore the power of silent confidence and authentic integrity. These qualities are like a quiet armor, shielding your self-worth from envy's corrosive effects without the need for loud defenses or aggressive assertion. Silent confidence is a calm, steady presence that doesn't demand validation or prove itself through words or actions. It's the kind of confidence that speaks softly but carries immense weight because it is rooted in a deep understanding of one's value. This confidence doesn't compete or compare, it simply exists with quiet assurance. Consider Rachel's experience with her competitive sibling. Growing up, Rachel often felt overshadowed by her brother's constant comparisons and subtle criticisms. His envy was a persistent undercurrent that threatened to undermine her self-esteem. But instead of meeting his competitiveness with defensiveness or rivalry, Rachel chose a different path. She responded with steady kindness and authenticity, staying true to her own values and achievements without needing to outshine or diminish him. Rachel's silent confidence eventually softened her brother's envy. When he realized that his attempts to unsettle her had no effect, the power of his jealousy waned. What Rachel demonstrated was that true self-worth doesn't have to be shouted from the rooftops, it can be embodied in calm, consistent authenticity. This leads us to the concept of integrity, living in alignment with your personal values and principles. Integrity is not just about honesty, it's about coherence between your inner beliefs and outward actions. When you act with integrity, you create a protective shield that guards your self-esteem against envy and external judgments. David's story illustrates this beautifully. At his workplace, David faced envy-driven conflicts from colleagues who resented his success and recognition. Instead of engaging in office politics or retaliating, David remained steadfast in his principles. He upheld fairness, worked diligently, and treated others with respect, even when he was the target of jealousy. His integrity earned him lasting respect and diffused much of the envy-fueled tension. Living with integrity fosters genuine respect from others because it signals that you are not easily swayed by external pressures. It also reinforces your own self-esteem because you know you are acting in harmony with your true self, rather than bending to expectations or engaging in defensive posturing. Silent confidence and integrity work hand in hand. Silent confidence is the inner state of self-assurance, while integrity is the outward expression of that confidence through consistent, value-driven actions. Together, they create a powerful buffer against envy. When you embody these qualities, envy loses its grip because it thrives on uncertainty, defensiveness, and comparison. Your stable presence and integrity make it clear that your self-worth is not negotiable. How can you cultivate silent confidence and integrity in your life? Start by clarifying your core values. What matters most to you? What principles guide your decisions and actions? When you have a clear sense of your values, you can align your behavior accordingly, creating coherence between who you are inside and how you show up in the world. Practice responding to envy or criticism with calmness rather than defensiveness. Notice when you feel the urge to react or prove yourself, and instead, choose silence or measured responses that reflect your authentic self. This doesn't mean ignoring problems but addressing them from a place of calm strength. Rachel's journey teaches us that silent confidence is not passive, it's an active choice to rise above petty comparisons and maintain your dignity. David's example shows that integrity requires courage, to stand by your principles even when it's challenging. When you commit to these practices, you protect your self-worth by refusing to give envy the power to destabilize you. You create a space where your value is recognized not because you boast about it, but because you embody it consistently. Furthermore, living with silent confidence and integrity inspires others. Your steady presence can be a beacon for those struggling with comparison and jealousy, showing them a path toward authentic self-worth that doesn't rely on external validation. This approach also fosters healthier relationships. When you respond to envy with calm authenticity and uphold your values, you encourage openness and trust rather than competition and suspicion. It becomes easier to navigate social dynamics without losing yourself or engaging in destructive patterns. Remember, silent confidence and integrity are skills developed over time. They require ongoing self-reflection and commitment. You might stumble or feel vulnerable at times, but each step you take toward embodying these qualities strengthens your inner foundation. As you cultivate these traits, you'll notice a shift in how envy affects you and your interactions. Instead of feeling threatened or diminished, you'll stand firm in your self-worth, protected by the quiet power of your authenticity. So, reflect on your current responses to envy and jealousy. Where might you bring more calm and authenticity? How can aligning more closely with your values create a stronger shield against envy's influence? These questions invite you to deepen your journey toward empowerment through silent confidence and integrity. In embracing these qualities, you continue the transformative path Jung describes, moving from fragmentation and reaction toward integration and conscious self-expression. You protect your value not by reacting to envy but by embodying your true self with steady grace. This is the space where your self-worth flourishes, resilient and enduring, even in the face of envy's shadows. At this point in your journey, you've begun to understand the roots of envy and how to protect your self-worth through conscious awareness, silent confidence, and integrity. Now, let's explore the ultimate transformation, the power to turn envy into empowerment and personal growth. Transformation is not simply about overcoming envy, it's about using it as fuel for your evolution. Carl Jung's teachings guide us here again, especially his concept of individuation, the process of integrating all parts of yourself, including the shadow, to become a whole and authentic individual. When you embrace your self-worth fully, even in the face of envy, you step into profound inner freedom. Consider Sophia's story. She once felt diminished whenever others envied her talents. Their jealousy made her question her abilities and even contemplate downplaying her gifts to avoid conflict. But Sophia reached a turning point when she realized that their envy was not a reflection of her worth but their own struggle. She began to embrace her unique talents unapologetically, viewing envy as a sign that she was shining brightly, sometimes in ways that stirred discomfort in others. Sophia's transformation wasn't instantaneous. It involved confronting her own fears and doubts, integrating those shadow parts that had kept her small. She cultivated a deep self-acceptance that transcended external opinions. Instead of shrinking, she expanded into her power, using envy as a reminder of her impact and a catalyst for growth. This is the essence of transformation, seeing envy not as a threat, but as a mirror reflecting areas where you can deepen your self-awareness and strengthen your resolve. It invites you to reclaim your story, rewrite the narrative of self-doubt, and step boldly into your authenticity. Jung's individuation process teaches us that integrating the shadow leads to wholeness. When you acknowledge both your light and dark aspects, you free yourself from the internal conflicts that envy often triggers. This integration dissolves the power envy holds over you, turning it into a tool for self-discovery and empowerment. Applying this transformation in your life means embracing your value unapologetically, even when faced with jealousy or criticism. It means protecting your self-worth by owning your unique qualities and contributions with pride and humility. As you embody this transformed self, you inspire others who struggle with envy and comparison. Your confidence becomes a beacon, showing that it's possible to rise above envy's shadows and live authentically. This transformation also encourages you to share your journey and wisdom. By opening up about your experiences with envy and self-worth, you contribute to a supportive community focused on collective upliftment. Together, you can create a space where self-acceptance and empowerment flourish. So, where do you go from here? Start by reflecting on the areas in your life where envy has held sway. How might you begin to see it as an invitation for growth rather than a barrier? What shadow parts are waiting to be integrated for your fuller expression? Remember, transformation is a process, not a destination. Each step you take toward embracing your self-worth, integrating your shadow, and standing firmly in your authenticity moves you closer to profound inner freedom. Your self-worth is a light that cannot be dimmed by others' envy. It is a power that grows stronger through conscious awareness, silent confidence, integrity, and transformation. You protect your value by choosing to see envy as a reflection of others' shadows, by nurturing your inner foundation, and by stepping into your true power with courage and grace. As you continue this journey, know that you are not alone. Share your story, connect with others, and be part of a community that celebrates self-worth and collective growth. Your transformation is not just personal, it's a ripple that uplifts many. Their envy isn't about you. You protect your value. You embrace your power. And in doing so, you inspire others to do the same.